Hey everyone, it's Robin DeGroot with TLC, Truth, Love, Creativity. And I'm going to talk about something today that I did not think about talking about before today. And part of it is because as I was clicking on the YouTube Creator Compliance button, which has been given to me several times over the last month, I started to watch more information about this situation. And I definitely wanted to join the fight, or at least the awareness that a lot of YouTube creators are putting out there. Now, I'm not a big monetized channel. I know that, and I am not necessarily a child's channel or children's channel. So it seemed relatively easy for me to just select the channel option that says I will not be creating any content for children. Now, this is where I actually want to join this debate, argument. Like I said, it's going to be something big, which in the terms of financing people who are creators for children's content, there are big ramifications. But for me, this video is more about the larger principles. Now, I was a teacher, I'm a body worker, I work in the spiritual, creative, energetic realms. Now, creativity can be seen as a very select topic, but it really isn't. Like, it's such a broad part of our existence and our beings. And I was just talking to my sister this morning about getting her children's book published with basically hybrid publishing, and how that works and why would she do it and how would she do it. Now, often I'm learning that a lot of hybrid publishing that we do for our books is not to make money off of the book itself, but to make more awareness of what we do, and the book becomes a marketing tool. So it's not really about the big monetization of the book. So if you have a child's book, a children's book, then again, you have to ask yourself, if you're getting it published, which is a cost, then what do you want to get out of it? Now, she wants to make a book that is a book that our brother started, and he cannot finish it anymore. He's no longer with us, and she wants to finish it in honor of him and to help with maybe all of our costs and whatever dealing with his passing. Now, that's a whole other story, but basically, I want to talk about the realm of creativity. So creativity is important to me. That sister I was talking about and we were 22 months apart, and we were two peas in a pod all the time growing up. I had a lot of health issues. I had ear, nose, and throat problems, so I was so congested and all of these things that I couldn't hear very well. So for many years, my sister was my little guardian and kind of like my seeing eye dog or whatever, because I wasn't aware of things that we would normally be aware of because of sound. I was hearing them, but delayed or muffled or too late. So anyway, we were drawing all of our early years. We were drawing and chatting and playing make-believe and all of this stuff. And by the time I went to first grade, and then by second grade, so I was probably 7, I was definitely getting more mature and learning how to draw really well. Like, I wanted to do perspective and things like that when I was 7 years old. And my sister was still very childlike. So it wasn't that she didn't do anything that was mature and for her age. she was very capable in school and she was reading all the time. She would tell me the stories of the books she read because I was like less of a reader and more of a doer. So, but that childlike imagination that lasted really long for her, I was always envious of later. So part of what I do now is trying to rekindle the childlike imagination and creativity and all of those freedom aspects that you need in order to be creative. So there's a whole process to that. There's like trying to unload and unravel all your blocks to reveal your gifts. This is my tagline. Like, I want to get people to release their traumas. And some of the trauma is just benign. It's just being raised with a lot of rules and what you can't do and no freedom to try things and make mistakes and all of that stuff. So basically this relearning how to be creative becomes refinding your inner self and your childlike soul and your inner child, as they say. So for me, it's very important. It's very important to finding your truth, finding who you are, especially survivors of narcissistic abuse, because if you were a serious codependent, which I had many years where I wasn't with extreme narcissists, but I have people in my life who I believe have some borderline personality disorder. And it's not like the disorder and they're so evil, none of that. I just think everyone starts somewhere in childhood, even in the womb, with varying degrees of separation issues, bonding issues, and all of that. And it cycles around on and on again. So this is where I have even more to say about this law that's going to happen. So in effect, what's happening is that a law that was made in 1998 and formed the name or the acronym COPPA, it's the Children's Online Protection Act. There's another P there. But basically, it is to basically protect children from what they're seeing and mostly their information so that they couldn't just put in any kind of addresses, phone numbers, all this kind of stuff into some online forum and then they become targeted. Now that was the original creation of it. In 2013, it was revised because every 10 years then these laws need to be revised. That seems a little late for the revision, but basically the online protection agencies, they banded together recently to say that YouTube has been kind of skirting the law. So they have been allowing a lot of videos that were probably designated to be 13 and up to be watched and monetized by children under 13. So this is where it's super gray for me. So because I understand that YouTube was maybe being non-compliant and negligent and all of that, but also I can see from a perspective of the content creators that the content that they were creating was for a broad range. Now this is why I have issues with what's coming now. And what's coming now in January 2020, or 2020, but actually as of December 9th, YouTube's policies are going to go into effect. And if any videos are deemed to be for children, but they haven't been marked for children, then those videos per video will be fined $42,530. And the content creators, The only reason that they may not go through every video and put down that this is for children is because the laws that will, the setup and the structure of YouTube for the child-only content is going to have basically no targeted ads and a whole bunch of other setups, no saving ability to a playlist, no notification bell, a lot of these things which will make it that the targeted ads will not be possible. And I understand, because this way the child's information with the cookies doesn't come through and isn't being collected. But the gray area is what I'm talking about here, and incentive. So when my son was 11 or so, probably, yeah, maybe actually less than that. He's 18 now. And he was watching a video series on YouTube called the Shaytards. Now their last name was, I think it was Tard something, I don't know, or if it was Shay. But Shay in French is at the house of, like welcome, and you are at the home of. So this video was like somewhat of a reality show for this family, and especially this main man who was leading it. Now, this man had dealt with being overweight a lot of his life. Now, I can understand that. My son was battling with it a bit. My daughter has. And basically, yeah, it runs in my family. We're not stick thin, and it does not come easily. We have to work very hard. So this man was talking about when the pain of your reality becomes so large, eventually it causes you to go through some other pain to change. And he started an entire regimen of training for marathons. And he was running marathons. And my son was watching this diligently whenever he had videos. Now, this is a video series that, was it for kids? I don't know. It was really helping my son. He was under 13 years old. And would this man be of service to get fined $42,000 per video? And if he could not monetize the videos, could he have done the challenges and basically traveling and going and raising money for these marathons and all kinds of things that you need to have a side hustle going on in order to be able to do something like that? So that the channel did well, to me, was awesome and amazing. And the other thing, my daughter, when she was younger, she was watching a lot of videos that showcase different music videos and styles and makeup and all these things. And she was doing that when she was also around 11. Now, she was like me. She was accelerated in her grades. She was ahead in her grades. And she was probably in grades that kids were 2 years older than her. Now, not only the fact that she was smart, and I was too, and we ended up being in those higher grades, but life nowadays happens faster. Now, we may not like it, but we cannot control that. And in fact, I actually did not resist that. I liked it that my children were up with whatever pop culture things were going on within reason, that they still talk to me about things, that when they were thinking something wasn't right, we had discussions. But basically, I remember my daughter was experimenting with dyeing her hair when she was already 11, 12. And I was like, go for it. Get it out of your system in a way. Maybe you'll love it. Maybe you'll do it forever. I don't know. But in my family, we weren't really allowed to do any of that. So I did it all when I left for university. And that means more like going crazy, which I think a lot of adults do if they did not do those things when they were younger. And the reason that I preferred it when they were younger is because they were near me and they could discuss things with me and we were still in the house together. So that's just my own decisions in parenting. And my kids were still pretty close to me, so we had a good relationship. But again, what I'm saying is that there was so much online that they were interested in, and they had fast-moving minds, and they were doing their homework, they were doing all these things, but they were online a lot, and then they were not online. And when they were online, they had pretty good and interesting things that they chose. Now, I think that the incentive to create things for children and young adults, which is a huge category and the problem with the gray area for me, this is an extremely important thing for our society. I don't want everyone to be incentivized to only create adult content, because if that is the case, everything will just be gray, no cartoons, no animation, nothing about video games, nothing about music, nothing about anything that might inspire children or what they feel like they're interested in. And this is the problem with the law that's coming. It's too vague and it's too broad. So, I totally agree that children's information should not be collected. However, this is kind of an agreed upon thing in the modern world. Our information is being collected and we are being advertised back to. This is the acceptance, especially for entrepreneurs. I work with Google, I work with YouTube, and Google and YouTube are in one and the same. I work with Facebook, I work with all these things because this is how we get known. These are platforms, these will help us, but there is the trade-off. This is how things work. So I know a lot of my information is used and sold and bought and whatever. It's just, that's the nature. I need to put out what I would be okay with putting out, but my personal information, I am not naive enough to think it's not out there too. So this is a problem. It's kind of a runaway train, and I don't know if we'll ever get on top of that. And I understand, especially with the big thing with the weird, scary monster on YouTube that was happening a year ago or so, there are some very dangerous things that can happen. But I also think that there has to be the roundabout look at things and not to find one fall guy. So with this complaint to the FTC, all of the agencies that complained, they wanted to stop, they want to protect children, I get that. But if they're going to say someone needs to pay for this, well, YouTube's paid a certain amount of money, now they're deflecting it to the creators. And that kind of makes sense because it's the creators who make YouTube, basically. And both of them will benefit with money. But to not specify the actual criteria and the age categories more specifically, then I think there's just going to be a big mess. And YouTube will suffer. There will be a lot less content for children, so children will suffer. Parents will suffer. The very people who complain to the agencies will probably suffer because now their children will have no content. Because if a parent, if a creator cannot create because they have no time, because they have to just do some daily 9-to-5 job, they won't be creating something that is not beneficial. Now for me, it's part of a larger picture. I want my entire message to be known and on different platforms. And I would love it if someday it's more popular and I can monetize. But that's not my incentive, but it is a lot of people's incentive because I still have to do other work and I make my money with my coaching and my money with my body work and all these things. So this, yes, it helps people to understand what I do, but it isn't the monetization source. But especially in the gaming world, this is one of the biggest gray areas. I have a son who is at Irvine, and he's doing programming and engineering, and I'm so amazed and impressed and grateful that he can do that he had the interest. And his father has the interest, that his father has worked in programming and gaming all his life. He is a gamer. He's also done aero micro flying of planes. They put some videos on YouTube. I don't think they ever plan to monetize them, but I'm just saying this is where the gray area comes in. They have been together with this gaming relationship since he was about 8 years old. And my son is also very intelligent. So if he would post something and those laws were there, he would have gotten in trouble. And he was interested in things which were made by certain teenagers, and teenagers who were having very good channels. They were putting things out that helped you play the games, understand the games, enjoy the game, and all of that stuff. And I'm a bit worried for these gaming content creators because their audience is not cut and dry. It's not 13 and over. It's not dangerous either. So that's where I do ask that people go to the FTC website. I think it's ftc.org, and you can actually still file you can say not your complaints necessarily, but your thoughts right now, because there's still a bit of a period of trying to see how this is all going to play out. There's a petition going around, and I think some legal people have created that, and lawyers for online content. And it's not that I want YouTube creators to be able to make money. This is not where I'm coming from. But I want to incentivize creatives. Now that, to me, in this day and age, is money. So I don't like the idea of punishing someone who is trying to make money and still trying to entertain kids and their audience with their interests. So my videos are not that great. So that I don't have to worry about. I don't think I don't speak that much to kids. But I also would be upset if I do want to make a video about art. I want to show a technique. I want to show a creative, basically some crafts or something, baking that I want to do. And if they're for Christmas, or they would be fun for holidays and families. Anything that's like PG in the other rating system is going to be at risk. And I don't want to go through every video and say, hey, this one's for children under 13, this one is not. So far I say my channel is only for adults, which is really sad because I taught fourth graders for several years. I taught first to third. I taught 11, 12-year-olds. These young adults are searching for answers, and they're very creative children, and they're also young adults. And I think that they can't be completely isolated into this weird little child bubble. So just like in the ages in Montessori, there are ages of development, stages of development. So you have first to third graders, you have fourth to sixth, and then you have 7 and 8, and then you go into high school. So there are very distinct stages of development that children go through. And they have their own unique set of challenges and requirements. And for me, I think it's also related to creativity, innovation, questioning, curiosity, all of that stuff, which is born out of being a child. And if that is kind of like squelched or arrested at some certain point, there become some weird development stages, because then they think, oh, that was bad, I shouldn't have looked at that thing, and just because of their curiosity. Now, then, in those cases, I expect, parents need to have a pretty good relationship with their children, so that if there becomes this thing that is questionable, this child will still ask their parents about it and discuss it. This can bring up discussion and good things, actually, for the family dynamic. So what I am hoping for that will come out of it in the next month, basically not even like 2 weeks, that people will still put some information out there to these petitions and to the websites, and just try to get them to be more clear and specific on the guidelines that are in the YouTube and the FTC website right now. And they basically need to get them to make the age categories possibly different. The fines can't be as extreme. Like, there's got to be some kind of transition period that would become reasonable. Because I think when something is not reasonable and it's like a rock and a hard place, then people get scared. They get lawyers. They do all kinds of things, but it'll be drastic. The content will drop. Children can't even watch their favorite shows anymore because they won't exist, because they can't afford to continue to show them. And it's going to backfire on the very people who tried to put up these, or enforce these laws in the first place. Now, I'm not saying I don't like laws, and I'm not saying I don't want to protect children. Again, I need people to be aware of the modern times, aware of actual children and the gray area of how their interests evolve over a certain amount of years, which crosses age 13, and to be aware of the fact that people are different, and children are in all these different categories, but so are adults. So adults who still enjoy gaming, who still enjoy SpongeBob, because it's a very good example of a show that was made with 2 layers, 2 levels. It was made for the children who were watching it, as well as the parents. So the humor was very clever. It was double entendre. So basically, if that is not recognized, then there is a big government agency just doing a blanket thing to try to help, but also going to make a lot of money, make an example of people, and that's not going to help. That's not going to help. It's just going to create chaos for the first 2 years. I don't know. It's going to create chaos until a resolution happens that is a compromise. And like I said, reasonable laws. And I think because even before this, YouTube probably never enforced it, because they also did not see a way. There's not a way when you just say, hey, the definition of a child is 13. Anything that is under that cannot be compromised. And I get that. So we have to get clever and creative and create different categories and tiers and structures and get extremely evolved. And that's what I hope to see for YouTube. Now, the other reason why I'm doing this on my podcast and YouTube is because this is just starting with YouTube. But everything in the online world is related. Now, Facebook had a certain rule many years ago to not have a child's account under 13. I know lots of people who started their accounts under 13. And they basically already outgrew it. They don't do Facebook now because the adults do Facebook. And that's just the way things go. Children's interests move way quicker. And they actually define a lot of the popularity and interest and success of some of these platforms. But they also move on from them very quickly. Now, what about the Facebook pixel? And the Facebook pixel that follows you and all your advertising when you clicked on something. I know about that because I've learned how to do that. Now, I don't necessarily do it, but it is another one of those things. Uses cookies, uses the pixels. These are things now. I'm sure that that exists in the world of children and children's toys. So are they going to be fined? Are people going to be fined for creating the pixel? If it's for a toy, is it going to be that the people who advertise on Facebook are going to get fined? Like, where does it end? And how do you keep it simply now YouTube creators? So I don't think that that's fair. And I think it's actually a really good warning and kind of just a foreshadowing of things to come. So I don't think anyone should take it not seriously. I think, first of all, as a YouTube creator, yes, you can change your settings so you don't get crazy fines. You don't want to be the first example made of you. And get lawyers, do all these legal things, try to fight this, because this is more about creativity. And like I was saying, I think it's about a personal soul part of us. It's our childlike, rebellious, innovation, adaptability. It's the one who says, I can, when everyone said you can't. So to me, this is huge. And I just encourage everyone to take it seriously. I don't think it's only for YouTube creators. I think it's for many, many parts of society. So most parents, I know a lot of parents who give their children YouTube videos to watch now. And just think, if those creators can't monetize that at all, maybe those channels won't be there anymore. Maybe Disney, whatever, and you can pay more money for those things because they're the giants who can probably survive and they don't need to monetize it. So I don't know. I just think everyone should take it seriously. Try to do what you can do to flood the petition and say your thoughts. And basically, there needs to be specifications. No blanket law. There's other blanket laws in other areas which I also completely disagree with. And it's just lazy. It's lazy, and it's also deceitful because it becomes it's like attempting to look like you're doing something helpful when actually you're just going to make money off of this, of other people's pain and confusion, because that's what's really happening on YouTube. People are like, oh, I have a picture in the background with animation or cartoons in it, and that could be flagged by these ridiculous bots that don't have very good personalization to them. I could be singing a song and a child could like it. I could be fined. I could be talking about, like I said, baking something for holidays, making cookies. I could be fined. It's ridiculous. It has to be specific. It has to be clear. It has to be reasonable so people can actually comply. So please look these things up. Look up COPPA, C-O-P-P-A, and look for petitions and against the look for the legislators that you can write to. I don't have all the links, so I'm not putting them under there, but I know that if you look them up, especially on YouTube, a lot of creators have put them in their links. So this is just my little part, because my big belief is in creativity and truth and honesty and transparency and basically helping each other to truly get to the higher evolved frequency that we can be as a nation, as a world, as a universal entity, and the collective consciousness. I just think this is where it starts, in the basic little things, and especially the online world. Our new world and all of our challenges are online. This is technology. This is the way it is, and this is the way it's going to be. So I don't hate it. I don't love it. I just try to learn and try to be in the moment and try to respond as things coming up that we have to figure out. So we can do this, and let's all do it together.